Welcome to Crypto Simulation Theory. I'm the Gaussian Snake. Today I'm going to talk to you about Ethereum, the bottoming process, and we'll discuss what we think is going to happen with Ethereum in the next year to year and a half, as well as thoughts on riskier assets like altcoins in general. This is not financial advice, it's just my opinion of the market, so take it as such. So if we take a look at Ethereum, this is ETHUSD, which I feel is actually worth looking at now, and I'll explain why in a minute. Um, what we see is a clear, really long-term flagging pattern going all the way back to the all-time high of 2022. I mean, it's just been this gigantic multiple-year consolidation. And what's kind of nice is that we do have, our first low here around 900 bucks, and then a slightly higher low around 1400 bucks. That's a good structure. I do like what I'm seeing there. We are finally back at the 618 fib on the weekly. We've spent a lot of time around this fib in the past year. Now, the one fib level that we've just struggled to overcome is the 886 at about $4,000. So how we want to be looking, for us to break when we think Ethereum is really going to start to rocket off. It's just been rejected 3 consecutive times. So, yeah, just looking at this, I mean, Ethereum looks a lot better than it's looked in a while. And that's certainly a good thing for those of us who've been waiting for it to wake up. Now, we're not out of the woods just yet with USD. Of course, a lot will depend on what Bitcoin does, right? But Ethereum is still beneath its 200-week whole moving average. It's kind of been chopping around here for a while. That's currently at around $3,000. The good news is it has moved past its other moving averages, the 20-week, the 50-week, and the 100-week. These candles look really good. So there's a possibility we get back above this 200-week. We should look at some momentum indicators to see how likely that is. Going to start with the wave trend oscillator. We got up into the red zone in mid-2024, but ultimately formed a head and shoulders pattern. And this bounce from this low level of -30 is not really that convincing. I mean, granted, we don't necessarily have to go as low as the 2022 lows did, or 2019, but I wouldn't be surprised if it did. So and this, by the way, is a 2-week time frame. I kind of want to tune out the noise on the weekly. So I like to look at the 2-week. That's one of my favorite time frames. So this is the average sentiment oscillator. We can see that, it's just been kind of ranging, even with the ASO. We're not seeing any crazy moves like, what we saw in 2021 just yet. We are currently in a bear bubble, believe it or not. And what happens with this bear bubble, who knows? But this is indicating that bearish momentum is still prevailing for Ethereum USD, even though it may not seem that way. Now, this could come down very sharply. That's just what it's saying. As far as the ADX and DI goes, it's just kind of just neutral at the moment. Slightly leaning bearish. You've got the bearish momentum above the bullish momentum, kind of with the ASO, and a trend strength of around 18. So what this is saying is that Ethereum USD is very unlikely to put in a parabolic upside move anytime real soon, but we could see some favorable accumulation conditions. And again, I mean, this could shoot right up for all I know, but I would guess there's a little more chopping that needs to take place around the current levels. It could be slightly higher, slightly lower. I know I'm not really saying a whole lot there, but yeah, let's go look at the 2-week RCMO. Like Bitcoin's 2-week RCMO, we have a pretty, we have a head and shoulders pattern of sorts here. We've got the head up here, left shoulder, or lower right shoulder. I mean, this does look kind of bearish to me. We've hit a pretty historically significant level back in August of -46. Note that in the bear market, we were at -56.44. In December of 19, we were at -62.97. And in October of 18, we were at -78.8. So, you might be looking for something for ETHUSD to kind of come and maybe test the 19 levels. That could happen. Maybe we come up a little bit and then come back down. I mean, honestly, things are still looking not so great for Ethereum. I mean, I'd say they're looking better than they've looked in the past, but it just looks like there might be some more pain ahead, which is consistent with my theory about Bitcoin, right? Like I've told you, I think Bitcoin's in for a little bit of trouble too. I mean, look at all this time 2-week Ethereum spent in the overheated zone. I'm not sure it can make it back up here like super quickly, right? And if it did, that it would be sustained. I just think Ethereum needs more time to digest the 2021 highs. I mean, and that sounds ridiculous, but this is just one big flag, and I think this flag will break to the upside at some point. The volume is certainly not convincing right now that we would have an upside break. So I'm just going to kind of rest my case with ETHUSD by saying sideways at best. Possibly there's a chance it does try to challenge these lows, right, from 2022. It could happen. It could happen. I guess it's a question of, do we go back up to that 886 fib level? Sorry, I'm trying to put the fibs back on. Does that happen? It could. We could stop out at the 786, put in a lower high. I mean, as far as like where ETH is going to go in the future, I'm very optimistic on it in 2026 and 2027. I know that sounds like a really long timeline, but that's the amount of time I feel like it needs, and I'll explain why in ETH Bitcoin, and also rate cuts and that kind of stuff. I mean, maybe I should explain it with the rate cuts now, but because I've done that with ETH Bitcoin, but not ETHUSD. So I still think like, ETHUSD, if it runs to like 2026, 2027, could definitely make it to its 1.7862 fib. I think, 19 to 27K is on the table far enough out if ETHUSD does what I think it's going to do, which just has an absolutely crazy 2026, 2027 bull run. If the bull run were to end this year, I think the 1.414 to 1.618 would be likely to stop out. Next year, I'd say 1.618 to 1.786. The year after that, probably we get close to a $30,000 Ethereum, which sounds insane, but look at the size of the flag will just be gigantic by then. So, and we will likely have some quantitative easing going on in the market. So that's what I want to show you next, is how ETH behaves with regard to. We don't have a lot of data from the past to really tell you how ETH behaves around rate cuts, but we have to work with what we have. So if you look in 2019, there was a low formed in December of around $82. That low eventually got retested. In fact, barely even inked out. I call it a double bottom in March of 2020 on the final cut. It took to the final cut for ETH really to get going. So the market had to be convinced that we were we were done with the cut cycle. And once that happened, ETH went on to put in a new all-time high and only encountered trouble when interest rates began rising again. I think the same thing is going to happen this time. So that's kind of what I'm saying. Like, we're just barely in the cut cycle right now. So I don't see ETH doing anything that amazing while we're in the cut cycle, other than probably just kind of going sideways. It's going to frustrate a lot of people, but the market's just not willing to take on the kind of risk that's necessary to throw ETH into a proper bull market just yet. Market is still strong, right? Stock market's doing well. It has yet to put in a higher high, and I'm skeptical it will, but it's doing well. So the Fed has no reason to cut rates right now. And you can see market participants, they used to think we'd get a June rate cut. It ain't happening, right? 98% say it won't. Look at how July is even shifting. I don't think Ethereum is going to do anything that amazing while we have these elevated rates. September, there's a little bit more of a thought like, okay, maybe by Q4, September's technically Q3, but maybe by like late Q3, Q4, we might start seeing some weakness in the stock market. But this is just one big fat I don't know. If you look at this, like these probabilities. So it's a confusing situation, because if things remain like this, it's kind of hard to see anything but a continuation of a Bitcoin only bull run. I know that's not what you want to hear, but where's the money going to come from? So if we were to start to get rate cuts happening in late this year, I could see Ethereum enjoying that. But where's the rate cut floor? I mean, the rate cut floor right now is just completely uncertain. I mean, you can't read anything off this data. You could say maybe it's sometime in Q1 or Q2, maybe even Q3 of 2026. So I don't think it has to follow exactly the same pattern of 2020, but I think we need to see that quantitative easing is happening and that rates are close to some kind of floor. And the floor seems to be agreed upon to be somewhere in the 325 to 375 range. Personally, I think 325 to 350 is likely. I'm unsure we would see 300. So we're not seeing conditions like we've seen in the past, and I doubt we will. And it's unclear if this is even a floor, right? Because we don't even have data going out to 2027. I guess like the thing that I'm sort of thinking about the market cycle is that this one is just going to go a lot longer than other ones have. Like, I don't think this is going to be a quick bull cycle. I think it's going to frustrate a lot of people how long ETH is likely to range. I'm not saying it won't get a leg up or even put in a new all-time high. It very well could. It's not that far off the all-time high right now. But as far as like a true mania crazy move to like $30,000, I think that's probably at least a year or more away. I do think it will happen, but I think we're going to see the flattening of this rate cut curve, and until we see a big drop, right? I don't see ETH doing anything that spectacular. Sadly, I just don't. If we look at Ethereum dominance, right? Hang on, my computer's freezing. If we look at Ethereum dominance, I mean, it looks terrible. Like it's at 9.43%. Okay, it's better than it was a few months ago, but look what happened last time, right? It took the final cut to really it took some substantial cutting to get Ethereum dominance completely bottom out. Now, do I think Ethereum dominance has bottomed out for this cycle? It's at levels where I could definitely say, yeah, I think it could have. It certainly could have bottomed. But do I think it's about to head straight back up into an uptrend? No. I think we've got some chopping to do. And I think we're going to spend the bulk of this year doing that chopping. Maybe at the very end of the year or early 2026, we can start talking about a more dominant Ethereum. Right now, let's just be glad it's at least having some kind of relief rally. I think this low level of 7 point, got it put in a lower, is that a lower low? Yeah, no, it kind of is. It closed higher. I don't know, man. That's a lower low. ETH dominance actually put in a lower low this cycle, barely, but it did. So yeah, I mean, it's hard to say how long it would take to get up to this red zone. I think it definitely will at some point. I don't think ETH dominance is probably coming back up here to these levels again, but we certainly could see it maybe above this red zone at some point. It is Ethereum. It is a number 2 crypto by market cap, and a lot of projects run on Ethereum. So I don't think it'll stay at these levels for very long. If you're talking about another couple of years, but yeah, this year I have a hard time, other than maybe a nice mean reversion move. I think it's coming back down. I'm not super optimistic that Ethereum can do anything that spectacular this year. Speaking of the devil, here's ETH Bitcoin. What has ETH Bitcoin done? It did get down into this red zone. The red zone are the 2019 lows. Formed a higher low relative to 2019. That's good. However, it broke this really long-term support trend line that goes back multiple years, like 7 years, almost 8 years. And it's now facing that as resistance in a red concave down Gaussian channel. So I think it's likely, and I can't say it's going to happen right now, but I think it's likely we come back down to the red zone again. We may come down more than once too, right? This resistance line needs to break for me to be convinced that ETH Bitcoin is completely done and over with its bear market. I'm not sure if it is. This could be the low, okay? And I've said this on this channel before, that 0.017 Bitcoin could be the low for ETH Bitcoin. It's too early to call. We know in 2019 and 2020, we had a double bottom before we rocketed off again. Gaussian channel was a lot fatter back then than it is now, but it's still concave down, right? And this mean reversion move has yet to prove to be anything substantial. It's been a great relief for altcoins. I mean, I will tell you, like, having my portfolio be what it is, very heavy in an Ethereum altcoin, it certainly feels a lot better than it's felt. The RCMO on the 2-week really hasn't convinced me in any sustainable way that this downtrend is over, right? Like, you have the high for ETH Bitcoin in April 2021, and then just nothing but a bleed straight down. Good news is we haven't taken out the negative 79 level from November 2023. But of course, there's really no signs here of a sustained bullish divergence just yet. I will say that I think we're in the bottoming process. Okay, so I don't really see like another drop coming that's going to take out the 2019 lows. I think the 2019 lows are very likely to be preserved, especially considering that Bitcoin is doing some nice things of its own right now. So I think that's good news for ETH Bitcoin. I mean, ETH has been outperforming Bitcoin for like the last month or so, but obviously with Ethereum dominance so low and these headwinds, it's hard to imagine ETH Bitcoin will do anything that remarkable this year. So yeah, I mean, like the bottom line when it comes to Ethereum is just to be patient. And if you're going to hold an Ethereum altcoin, you're probably going to be waiting a while before you see some real action about it and from it, and you might miss out on other things. Okay. So what does this environment sort of lead us to? Well, it could lead us to some really nice swing trading opportunities. So if you find an undervalued altcoin and you believe that we might see some kind of alt season materialize, it may not be the most impressive alt season, but I think we could see something along the lines of what we saw in late 2023, early 2024 at best. And you could try swing trading, right? Get a position, ride it out, and when things seem like okay, this has gone on long enough, take your profits and run. I don't think we're going to see the face melting altcoin season that we're all waiting for just yet. I do still think we'll get one. I just don't think it's going to happen. Probably not. Definitely, I would say definitely not this half of the year. Maybe you see the beginnings of one late next quarter. Again, it all depends on these rate, like what's going on with the economy. Like it's so uncertain right now. It's hard for me to really say much beyond that. But I would definitely, I definitely think that it's possible that the bottom is in for ETH Bitcoin. 0.017 seems like a likely candidate. It rhymes with the 2019 lows. It preserves the macro oscillator status of ETH Bitcoin, which is something we want to see. We don't want to see a bleeding ETH Bitcoin. Not good look for the second largest crypto by market cap. But yeah, those are my thoughts. Tell me what you think. Do you think that I'm being too conservative, maybe a little too bearish? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this content, be sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel, hit that notification bell, and join my Telegram. Love seeing the conversation in there. We have some great analysts that share their views on the markets, have been sharing information about altcoins, all completely free. Be sure to join Telegram. I also have a Twitter and an Instagram account. I'm more active on Twitter than I'm on Instagram, so just keep that in mind. I have a TikTok as well. Again, more active on Twitter. So Twitter and Telegram are the two places you want to follow me besides here. All right, so this has been another episode of Crypto Simulation Theory about Ethereum, and I was very happy to talk about it. I've been meaning to for a while. And I'll see you again next time. Again, not financial advice. Do your own research. Take care.